Hey guys, Pump One Environmental here with you today. Today we're going to go over our field test station and we're going to show you the mechanics and how to operate this thing when you're testing a pump. We're going to go over everything, but we're going to provide you with all three hoses. We're going to provide you with all the connections, everything you need. Before we get started, a big key point that I want to go over here is while we're testing this pump, the whole time we're going to be testing it, we're going to be using compressed air at a very high level because we're going to be testing head pressure, slow fill, that sort of thing. So every time we're inserting this pump and we're making these connections, we're going to want to make sure that this valve, your air valve, is completely shut off. And the same thing when you take your valve, when you take your pump back out, you want to make sure that this valve is completely closed off, and you also want to make sure that you have eye protection. That's just a very important part of this assembly. So let's go ahead and hook the pump up. And while he's hooking it up, so this is going to be where your air is coming in from your compressor, and this is going to be your isolation valve for that. You're going to have a head pressure valve here that we're going to test head pressure with. You're going to have a slow fill valve that we're going to test slow fill with, and then you're going to have your tank isolation valve. This really is irrelevant unless you're doing any kind of maintenance to your tank and you just need to isolate the liquid that's in your tank. So once we get everything hooked up, basically what we're gonna run a series of tests here. The first test we're just gonna let it cycle at a normal cycle rate. And once we're cycling, we're going to perform a head pressure test, in which we'll go over, and then we're going to perform a slow fill test, and then we're going to perform a test that we check for leaks in the pump. So let's go ahead and turn our air on. And when we turn our air on, we're just going to ease it on, and as you can see, the pump is going to pump. It's going to cycle normally, which it should, as long as it's functioning correctly. And you can let this pump cycle, you can let it cycle for 30 minutes, you can let it cycle for 30 seconds. That's really, irrelevant. You're just looking to make sure that it's functioning. So the first test that we're going to perform is going to be our head pressure test. And what we're looking for here is we're going to close this valve off, and what we have coming in from our compressor right now is about 100 psi. It's great if you can achieve 100. If you can't, anywhere between 80 and 100 is okay. But so we've got 100 here, and what we're looking for, we want to close this valve off to where we can meet our 100 psi on our head pressure, and we can have a 20-second fill time on the actual discharge or on the cycle. So it might take some tweaking, but you can kind of listen. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But you can kind of listen as it's just seeping through, and you're just looking for a 20-second cycle. And once you achieve that 20-second cycle, we can open it back up, and we know that that our pump is passed, and it's cycling every 20 seconds as it should. There's no red flags, so we can move on to our next test. So it's cycling normally now. The next test we're going to do is our slow fill test. Same concept here. We're gonna close our slow fill valve off, and what we're looking for, it's gonna pump everything that's in the pipe. It's gonna pump it down, and once it gets it down, then we're gonna start simulating a slow fill. So if you could see in the pipe right now, the liquid is rising very slowly, and what we're looking for here is around a 15 to 20 second fill rate. Now, if it's more than 20 seconds, that's no big deal. The more you shut that valve off, obviously you can have it where it's just dripping in, and you can make it very slow. But what we're going to look for is if we can look over the top of this pipe, and we can see that our liquid has rised over the top of the head of the pump. We know that it's surpassed our trigger point, and we still have no actuation in the pump. It's basically the pump is stalled. So at that point, we know that one or two things has to be adjusted. It's either going to be the magnets, which are going to be related to the float, or it's going to be the rocker mechanism, and it's just going to have to be taken out, taken back on the workbench, and troubleshooted. So we can open this valve back up, and the pump will begin to cycle normally again. And then our next test, what we're going to test for is going to be our head, is going to be our just deadhead the pump. And what we're looking for here is if we can look over the top of this pump when it's completely full, and we can see if there's any air bubbles that are coming in from the pump. And if there are air bubbles, then we know we have air ingression, that the pump is leaking, basically. And what we can do, we can pull the pump up a little bit, and we can kind of look for, where are the bubbles coming from? Are they coming from the air in? Are they coming from the casing? Are they coming from the bottom check valve? And that's going to be sort of, back to troubleshooting, back to the workbench. But as far as functionality of the test station, that's pretty much all there is to it. Feel free to give us a call if you have any questions. Visit our website. We're going to have some cut sheets on this thing, and as well as some documents going over everything that we've went over in this video. So thanks for watching, guys.